solution, but it's been expensive, I think is where we're at. So changing course now will just make it more expensive than how horrendously expensive it's already been, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Michael, go ahead.
so, just to be clear, is the extra expense because of the homeowners' request of the solution that they like? Did we have a more affordable solution and then they didn't like it? Or just when you've got to see the property, we have to do this? Do you see what I'm saying? Is the
I know what I think the answer is, but I want to hear Bill say it out loud so that I know I'm right.
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, we try to accommodate property owners. There's a shelf down there below that we wanted to put it on, but we would have had to bolt it to put it against his bulkhead and bolt it. His bulkhead was kind of fracturing already. So he was concerned about us trying to attach that to his bulkhead. So we're accommodating this person. I think we've come up with a solution that will work by putting.
Even though at some expense, you guys feel this is reasonable accommodation that we would do for any citizen. This is not like an extravagant.
This is probably one of the two most complicated locations to figure out for grinder pumps. And all of the grinder pumps that we've done, we had a similar situation over on Washington where the grinder pump ended up down on the beach. That's the last thing we want to do, but sometimes there's not a lot of options. So Bill, I don't know what the other options were, but that was vetted quite a while back, and the consultant has been working on this permitting because of the tide level and the complexity of this design. Like, I think we're pretty committed to it at this point. Is that fair, Bill?
It is. We're pretty far along.
Yeah.
May I ask by whom was it vetted?
By the technical staff, like our consultant and Bill and Michelle Philly when she was here. So
Okay.
The project management team, basically.
So how much of this $183,929 contract modification is caused by this one property alone? I'm
going to have to pull some numbers for you out of a memo that Parametrics prepared. If you have a second, I can.
So before you do that, Bill, can you go through what there were other costs?
Oh, sure.
So we're not even done going through all the costs, and I think we should circle back to this. Yeah.
I really have one more.
Please go on.
And the other really significant one was that when we scoped this project, the design, we didn't include a 90% review. We had just very recently, typically projects are done on a 30, 60, 90, 100% design review. We had just completed the design and we're in the process of constructing Oyster Bay Beach Sewer. So there were a lot of lessons learned from that project. So we thought that we could take those lessons and apply them and shorten the design period and get this project done more efficiently and save some money. During the course of this project, this design, we added a pump station, and then, with the issues with this particular property, we thought it would be beneficial to add that 90% design back in just to make sure we got one more round of review.
So we have also expended all of the management reserve. So there was a $50,000 management reserve. And when Bill says this project's derailed by, the cultural resources issues, it's as derailed as I've ever seen. So we burned through the $50,000 management reserve trying to respond to the archaeologists that quit, and appeasing the angry tribe and DAP that were very upset as we were moving forward. So the management reserve has been expended, and $20,000 of this contract mod is to replenish the management reserve with 20 grand, so that we can address any other derailments that we haven't foreseen yet. So there's $20,000 for that. There's the 90% design, there's this beach work. There's been an extensive permitting expansion. The original contract amount for permitting was like $37,000 or $38,000. This contract mod takes it over $100,000 for the permitting effort alone. So yeah, there's a lot going on here, and the costs are much higher than we originally anticipated. But we did not anticipate having a site with, you know, human remains having been found historically. And we're learning a lot. I mean, it's the first time I've dealt with this extensive of an archaeological site. So
Yeah, Tom, please
thank
go
God
ahead.
we're finding it during design and not during construction, right? This is much better than it could be if it was discovered while we're under construction. So.
True.
So, I'm sorry, Bill, had you finished your presentation at this point and the lamentation?
Yes, those, those, and I focused on those 3 points and Ned brought up another one. So yeah, yes.
Okay, so I understand accommodating homeowners, and, you know, as a property owner myself, yes, thank you. This seems like a very expensive accommodation. So here I'm truly just asking, and I know that when people are asking you questions, it can often feel like they're going, prisoner at the bar, where were you on the night of 11th November? But I'm truly just asking because I don't know the answer, okay? You guys have known me for a while, so I hope that you can trust that that's what I'm doing. Okay. So when you all first looked at this site, the difficulties of this particular homeowner didn't occur to you because you had planned to bolt a shelf onto the bulkhead, is that correct?
There was a ledge, a narrow ledge down at the base below his house, and we thought we could put it at that location. But it would have been up against his footing and his concrete footing. We would have had to bolt it through his footing.
but we don't have that level of detail when we're negotiating scope and budget. Like, we haven't gotten that far into a project. That's what management reserve is for, is to try to, you know, accommodate any kind of weirdness that we come across. And hopefully we've got enough management reserve that we've programmed into the contract to allow us to get through it without contract mods. But we hadn't looked at that site to that level of detail before we executed this contract. So
Okay.
Can I add on to that? Just one quick thing. So
Just calling on you.
Yeah. So you know, we're completely changing how the wastewater service in this whole area is managed, right? You're having to go through each of the properties, and I don't know how many there are, but 30 maybe, something like that. Each one of those properties is its own little design project to try to figure out, okay, what elevation, where's the lateral, where do I intercept it, where can I put a pump station, where can I put power, how do I get the flow up to utility, do I need to construct a new utility? So I mean, just to kind of add on to what Ned said, I mean, we have kind of a general idea of what makes sense, but until you start pulling all the plans, get surveyed, go out, walk the field, you know, knock on doors, you really don't know exactly how you're going to address each of these. And
they're all different. Like, we might be replacing a whole electrical panel at one house and just putting in a slimline breaker at the next house, right? Like, every one of them is unique with landscaping, things that are like in the way, you know. So yeah, every one of them is unique.
And as we continue,
Ned, thank you very much for your input, but young Tom Nucky needs the practice. Please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that that's they're all different. Every one of these projects, all of these projects, as we go forward and try to eliminate these sewers off the beach, we're going to run into these things again. I mean, there have been, you know, Native Americans that have lived in this area, you know, for eons, right? And so and they lived on the shoreline because that's where the food was. So it's just, I mean, this is part of doing this type of business, I think. So,
And it's kind of one thing I want to add is every property owner is different. This particular property owner, whenever he writes to me or I write back to him, he always CCs his attorney. He's very concerned about, what we're doing on his property.
This is probably our most challenging project right now.
Michael, you guys are all okay with first names during public works, right?
Yeah.
Anybody object? Okay, so Michael, do you have anything like
Yeah.
brilliant and
Yeah.
lot?
There's just some things that even though they don't taste well, we have to take our lumps and as long as we feel like we can also justify this to the public, sort of, that we're not, you're not putting in diamond encrusted sewer laterals on my house, right? Like,
They're getting the same infrastructure. It's just much more expensive when you put it on a beach instead of up in the yard. And everybody who wants a permit or needs a permit, including like the Corps and fisheries, and the tribe gets much more involved when you do that. And so it just gets, it gets a lot more complicated.
and it's a waterfront property owner. They've
In
got
Manette?
different resources than than some. So
Yes, I'm gonna just be short there. Okay,